Hey, it's SickBoy from the Gaminganarchist Collective, and welcome to the Anarchic Eye for November the 25th, 2013. Right, well, after some speculation over the weekend, it has been confirmed by Activision that Crash Bandicoot is still wholly owned by them. Which means that they have quoted that they are looking for a way to resurrect the beloved franchise, and that they will be continuing to bring Crash Bandicoot games to the market. Now, the last thing they made, I think, was an iOS game back in 2010. So it's been quite some time, and it'd be quite nice to see a nice Crash Bandicoot platformer. I enjoyed playing the Crash Bandicoot games, despite the quite racist Tiki Torch. Other than that, fantastic series. And I hope that Activision don't just rinse it to absolute fucking death, stick Crash in Skylanders in order just to rinse everybody to the point of absolute exhaustion. But at least we now know the actual state of the IP. It has not reverted to Sony. It will remain with Activision, at least for the time being. Well, somewhat contrary to what a developer at DICE said a couple of days ago, they've now come out and said that they do not make Battlefield 4 just to make money. EA don't make cookie cutter games. And I'm just going to have to say, are you fucking kidding me? Come on, EA does not make cookie cutter games. Really? How many years have they been making Madden and EA? How many games do they have single installments that they develop themselves, not ones that they publish from outside? They don't. They tend to franchise things to death and iterate them to death. And for fuck's sake, don't come out and say that Battlefield is not just there to make money, they're about making them... Really? Because you only came out a couple of days ago, one of your developers, and said that you will not make a Bad Company game because it wasn't mainstream enough and more people cared about Battlefield 4's gritty campaign. So, really, are you going to try and say that with a straight face? A complete conflicting description there. DICE don't just make games. I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you enjoy the games you make. I'm sure you put a lot of love and effort into Battlefield. But don't pretend for 1 second that you do not bow to market forces, because only a couple of days ago you admitted that you did. Right, just as a quick sales update with regards to the PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One. Now, the PlayStation 4 came out a couple of weeks ago in the US and has been told that in the first day it sold 1 million units. The Xbox One launched in 13 countries on Friday. They have been told that they have sold 1.5 million units in those 13 countries over the last couple of days, in fact the first 48 hours, which does actually mean that certainly the Xbox One has actually sold more copies now than the Wii U. The PlayStation 4 is not far behind. Of course, the major international release is this Friday, so I doubt they're going to end up quite as even, being as on one market the PlayStation 4 has sold 1 million units and the Xbox One has sold 1.5 in 13 different countries. Now, we'll see what happens there. It's not about a dick measuring competition here, but it is quite clear that when it comes down to sales, certainly in the US, the PlayStation 4 has outsold the Xbox One. That is somewhat of a given. Obviously, it is buoyed up by the other 12 markets. But we'll see what happens this weekend, and I'm sure all the gloating and arguing and bitching will recommence. Well, it appears that certainly with regards to the UK and other, really, I don't know whether this affects all PAL regions, but I know that with regards to TV in the UK, and I believe this also counts for all of Europe, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Now, British TV has always been broadcast at 50 Hz. That is why there was a difference between NTSC and PAL. That is why those things actually existed. NTSC is 60 Hz, PAL is 50 Hz. Now that is why old games didn't used to be compatible between the two, because they ran at different frame rates. Okay, so the screen flickers 50 times a second in the UK and 60 times a second in the US. Now, with the Xbox One designed to integrate telly, so people who are utilising their Sky TV box or their Virgin Media box through their Xbox One, the Xbox One outputs at 60 Hz. Now, TVs now, most TVs all run at 60 Hz. That's not really a problem, but it's based by the input. Televisual input is still 50 Hz. So what's happening is that it is playing 5 frames, and then the 6th frame is the 5th frame repeated. So there is going to be stuttering when you play your television through your Xbox One. If I might just do a little dramatic recreation of my thoughts when I saw that. Did you not realise that, Microsoft? Oh, I'm sorry, you're new to TV entertainment, aren't you? You're not actually aware, you're not aware of this. This has been something that's been going on forever. Back when I used to import games from NTSC to have on my PAL machine, you'd find that unless you had a 60Hz mode on your telly, the screen would be black and white. That's been something that's been going on forever. I couldn't actually play, when I first got it, the GameCube version of Ocarina of Time that came with the Wind Waker because it ran at 60Hz. Have you never heard of this before, Microsoft? You're the professionals. You didn't know this. You didn't warn people. You didn't tell them that their one all-in-one hub doesn't fucking work in the UK. And you sold it, knowing full well you did not warn us that this was not designed to match the input with the output. That's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Well, as a follow-up, when I mentioned the Xbox One live marketplace prices for digital games, I'm now going to mention the PlayStation 4 ones that have come out. Now, as I said in the past, the PlayStation 3 games have been very expensive digitally and they're a waste of your goddamn time. And I said that it was £59.99 to get FIFA on the PlayStation 3. And as I said, that is around about $80 odd. Now, the PlayStation 4 version of only EA games, mind. The other games are expensive. They're about between £54 and £59.99. The EA games have gone up to £62.99 for FIFA fucking 14, for NBA 14, for Madden 25, for Battlefield. Battlefield, I'm not including the premium subscription, I can only imagine. What the fuck is going on here? Well, it seems to me what the fuck is going on here is that all they've done is they've taken the previous generation prices, added a couple of pounds on. I wouldn't be surprised that part of the exclusivity deal between Microsoft and EA was that Microsoft would part subsidise their games. I think they decreased their cut slightly to allow games, because games are noticeably, EA games mind, only EA games it seems, are noticeably cheaper on the Xbox One than on the PS4. Isn't that an interesting little fact? Okay, well, the state of the industry has just been published, and they have confirmed that they believe 1.2 billion people play games. Now, that is of all kinds, of course, but play video games. 1.2 billion people play video games. So gamers being a minority, being some kind of weird thing, you can throw that out the fucking window. Over 1 in 7 people on this planet play video games. Now, bear in mind that a huge chunk of the population of this planet are currently starving to death with no electricity. That is a fairly large proportion of the developed world. So, bear that one in mind. Now, also, with regards to online, so 700 million people play games online. And that is made up of 46% women, 54% men. How they've broken it down is they've broken down the majority kinds of genres that they play. Now, they've joined boys and men together because they pretty much play the same games. They are racing games, sporting games, and action games. And with regards to girls and women, they've separated them. They've said that girls tend to play cooking games, dressing up games, and pet care games, and women tend to play puzzles and mahjong type games. Okay, so this is where we need to be aware of these facts and aware of these trends, because people will say, if 46% of online gamers are women, therefore games should cater 50-50 to men and women, because that is a fair, that would seem like a fair ratio. Well, we need to bear in mind that they are saying 700 million people play games online, so those people whose data we can pretty much gather. We have that data, we know what the demographic of online gamers are. It means that because not one of the core AAA types of games, that being racing sims, sports sim, and action games, action adventure, pretty much everything in the world, really. I mean, that's just games, really. But none of those turn up as a trend within online women gamers. They tend to play puzzle games and mahjong games. Now, there are lots of women who play AAA games, but we need to bear in mind that not a majority of women, a minority of women play AAA titles, and a majority of boys and men play AAA titles. That is why there is currently still the discrepancy. That is why calling for a completely fair and reasoned mixture, and that of course doesn't even mention the fact that that only covers men and women, that doesn't cover any kind of fluid gender, any kind of transgendered individual. They're not even part of this statistical matrix. Obviously, whatever they identify is what they come up in that list. So there we have it. The majority of men, the majority of online gamers are men. The majority of boys and men who play video games play AAA titles. The minority of online gamers who are women, only a minority of those would play those action games. And that is why they still aim at boys and men. They aim for that adolescent young man power fantasy, because that's who are still the lion's share of their market audience. Well, something I called a while ago, in fact I said in a couple of videos, that there will be a new Xbox One within the next year, 18 months. I apologise, I am wrong. It's coming early 2014. There is probably a new Xbox One coming out early 2014. Just to reiterate, I did say it's the 25th of November 2013, didn't I? You're launching new hardware. Now, it's possible that this SKU, it may be an SKU without a Kinect. We don't know. But there is a new model of Xbox One coming early next year. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. If it's an upgrade, fuck you. If it's a downgrade, people should be allowed to return their fucking Kinect for cash. That's all I've got to say on the matter. That I am absolutely amazed that you've only just launched the product and you are already looking to have the upgrade on the market within the next few months. Oh dear, nobody can get away from the Kinect. It appears that Apple have bought the inventors of the Kinect, and this is highly rumoured and suggested to be integrated into the Apple smart TVs that are due to be hitting the market. I don't know about you, I do not want a 3D camera built into my television. Just no. That's all I've got to say. Apple. Fucking hell, no. Well, following the PlayStation 4 and its integration with Twitch and using the Playroom, people have been utilising their PlayStation 4 in order to stream live events. There have been people who did phone-ins to sell off their old PlayStation 3. There was a couple who got drunk on a sofa. Then when they got so drunk, the wife passed out, he pulled out her breast and then stripped her. Because that's exciting. And then following that, that caused a load of people to be creating pornography and streaming it on Twitch. This is why we don't have nice things. And Twitch have now been banning users left, right and centre for streaming non-gaming content. Now, my first concern about this was obviously selfish. I was thinking this better not impact our podcast, which we do on Twitch. As it turns out, they have said talking about gaming is gaming content, therefore is appropriate for Twitch. If you utilise your PlayStation 4 to stream to Twitch that has nothing to do with gaming, just because it's on a PlayStation 4 does not mean it is within their terms of service. Twitch is purely about streaming game content or game discussion. So those of you who use Twitch for podcasting and what have you, you are safe, don't worry about that. However, again, this is why we can't have nice things. People just fuck it up immediately. Right, well, the MPAA, now we know they've been very cheeky recently, pushing for SOPA for quite some time. Well, now they've decided for another plan of attack, and that is to brainwash small children. Now, they are backing a curriculum for small children, and we're talking 6-year-olds, to be taught the value of copyright. Now, I am all for respecting the concept of copyright. But what they are trying to do is essentially they're trying to get in when children should be learning how to read and write and know their mathematics and learn interesting things about history and about science and about life in general and social interaction. I don't know. You want to take time out of their curriculum and teach them that they should respect copyright law. What the fuck? It's not in the curriculum for these children to respect any other law. You don't have a lesson about not 6-year-olds telling them that rape is a bad thing or that murder is a bad thing. These things are implicit societal rules and there are laws. You are taking up children's education time to brainwash them. And you'll notice that this kind of educational thing goes through to your whole life. Now, I, as a British person, growing up with the National Health Service. Now, I personally utilise private healthcare, but a lot of people don't. And I was grown up to believe the NHS is a good thing. That socialised healthcare, even in a capitalist democracy, is a good thing. Now, it doesn't make it into a socialist state. Now, if you go over to America, you see the idea of socially owned care. I'm not talking about what people think about the Obamacare thing. I'm talking about universal healthcare. The idea of universal healthcare is alien to a lot of people in the US. In fact, in some cases, they consider it downright evil. They consider it theft from their own pocket. Now, I pay taxes every single month and goes to fund the National Health Service. I haven't been into a hospital, I haven't been into a NHS hospital since I was 7 years old. I've been in hospital twice in my life. And I continue to pay and fund for that health service. And I will utilise it as and when. That's what it's there for. It is essentially insurance. It's universal insurance that I can get the treatment that I want. Is it perfect? Is it? No. But this is how I've been taught as a child, and this is stuck with me. The same way that I grew up Catholic, and a lot of Christian values I still hold. I am not a faithful person. I don't hold any particular faith, or I'm not really a religious person. However, I do still hold certain core Christian values that I believe to be laudable, because they were taught to me as a child and they have stuck. I have been conditioned to believe those things. And you think it's a good idea to go in to 6-year-olds and condition them that things like singing a song on the internet is disrespecting the copyright holders, you should create your own thing, and copyright infringement is the devil. Have you seen how America in general responds to the idea of socialism of any kind? Just the word communism or socialist drives a lot of Americans automatically tetchy, because part of their culture is to teach them it's evil and it's wrong and it's horrible. That's how it works. That is how that kind of conditioning works. In the same way that I've been trained to accept certain things that in America would be considered a socialist nightmare. Now, I don't live in a socialist country by any means, but we do have some social care aspects. We have some socialised issues. We do have some communal owned functions. One of which, pretty much the only one we pretty much have left, is our health service. Get them when they're young, change how they think so that they in the future can have a stranglehold on those children. Hell fucking no. If you're in America and you have a child going into school, you make damn sure they understand the context of what they're being told, rather than just fucking brainwashed into allowing things like SOPA to come in and take over their lives. That is absolutely fucking seedy and despicable. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. You've been looking through the 2020 vision of the Anarchic Eye. I'll catch you guys later.